Hey UConn Nation, it's KK Arnold here. If you're looking for the latest UConn women's basketball content, go subscribe to listen up to Phil and Ryan. Go Huskies!
Thank you, KK. Ryan, as we try to lift the spirits on this Monday night, right? We have a big one, and it's very important to see how things turn around. It's Villanova, Ryan, led by Lucy Olsen and this very talented Villanova group back to the Big East conference schedule again as they dive into more Big East opponents. What do you have? Because as we turn to Ryan for everyone watching this evening, Ryan, your old friend Maddie Siegrist. That's all we ever heard about, right? In the Big East, she is the Big East all-time leading scorer in women's basketball. So hats off to Maddie Siegrist as she's now with your Dallas Wings. How about
She
that?
is.
Crazy how stuff works. So the bigger question for you is now on our last check-in. What are the last check-in first time ever without Maddie Siegrist, I think, on the roster? What are you expecting now with this big name out?
Well, before I get into Villanova, we have the weekly AP poll update. UConn dropped 3 spots to number 11 in the AP poll for this week after, of course, taking the tough loss on Saturday night to Notre Dame, who only moved up 1 spot to number 14, despite going to Gampel and winning. So another crazy week for a bunch of other teams, a lot of upsets, including Colorado losing to Oregon State. UCLA dropped 2 games this week. USC lost to Washington. So some crazy stuff happening in the women's game this year. It seems like the March Madness, the championship, probably going to be pretty wide open. So I know we can't wait to watch that. But for this game Wednesday night, actually the last game of January, the Huskies travel to Villanova, Pennsylvania to take on some familiar faces. One of those being Lucy Olsen, who has really turned it up this season, averaging just under 24 points per game, which is sixth in the country. So UConn facing two of the best scoring guards in back-to-back games. Christina Dulce averaging just under a double-double for the Wildcats and averages 2 blocks a game. Guards Bella Runyon, Maddie Burke, and Nia Jones are all returning players as well. The new face in the starting lineup is freshman guard Maddie Weber. So Villanova overall not a bad team, to be honest. They're 6-3 in Big East play so far. They struggled a little bit in December, but have pulled it back some in the month of January. These two teams have some close battles in the past couple years. But of course, like you mentioned, the big difference is that Maddie Siegrist is no longer with the Wildcats, has moved on to the WNBA. So, of course, it's hard to replace a player of that caliber. I think UConn will win this game, but I hope they don't lose their confidence after that tough loss in stores on Saturday. I still want to see the same team with a lot of energy and confidence, and we really do need to build some wins. I think there's 3 games before they travel to South Carolina for obviously the biggest game of the year. So hopefully we can gain some momentum back here before we do make that big trip to face number 1 South Carolina.
All right, please subscribe to the channel, like the video. A like goes a long way. We appreciate it, and we appreciate it. Ryan appreciates everyone. Ryan also comment away. Boy, come through in the last video, and we will waste no time and get down into comments. Predictions last for UConn and Villanova. Again, that's Wednesday night at 6:30. Ryan and I right back here Wednesday night for the game recap. We hope it's a happy one. Ryan, let's go over to Marcia Clark. She goes, this one hurt. Hidalgo has been balling all year. Shame on you, Phil. Ha ha, just kidding. Hannah plays with no fear, like Clark, Reese, and Watkins. I love the Huskies, but sometimes I feel like they play scared or are hesitant in owning their talent. Notre Dame's size was also going to be an issue. As much as we hate to say it, it helps to be a big team. Edwards played her tail off. Credit to her. Notre Dame needed this win. They came hungry. The ACC is no joke this year.
No, no, it's definitely not. And UConn, of course, I think they previously beat two ACC teams and have lost to two. this season. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty incredible the amount of freshman talent that's entered the game this year. I know Juju Watkins for USC. I think she's been tearing it up, and a bunch of other players I could name on a bunch of other teams. But like I said, it's pretty wide open. But yeah, unfortunately, I think that's the two things that are going to hurt UConn is the lack of experience on the team for this year with two freshmen in the starting lineup, and of course two freshmen that have to come off the bench because of the injuries that we have on this team. And the other thing is the lack of size, unfortunately, because of the injuries and just kind of how the lineup. I guess it's kind of forced to be set up now with the injuries. So it's unfortunate, but UConn has battled through it most of the year. So we'll have to see what happens later in the season. But I think a couple of those things are going to be pretty tough to overcome.
Bruno goes just a handful of words, Ryan. Well, that was embarrassing.
Yeah, and especially on national TV too. The game being on Fox. I'm not sure if that was their first nationally televised game. I know a couple have been on ESPN this season for UConn, but
I feel like
it
that there was
definitely.
another one on Fox. I can't really remember, off the top of my head, but I feel like there was another one on Fox, but I don't know. You and I can't remember. Hopefully somebody can remember for us.
Yeah, but I mean, either way, it definitely
Yeah.
was, unfortunate. I think the embarrassing part was that it was at home in stores where
Mhm.
UConn, of course, had been perfect all season long. Really, really just played perfectly at home, no matter what. But Notre Dame definitely a good team. But hopefully UConn can kind of pick it up here. Like I said before, the South Carolina game build some momentum, but it definitely was disappointing and a tough loss on Saturday.
I've been saying that Aubreys' loss will come to haunt us. I'm not surprised, just disappointed. And that was Violet.
Yeah, I think, obviously all the injuries are going to add up. Of course, Ayanna Patterson, Jana Alfie, of course, AZ Flood was a huge loss in the starting lineup, but Aubrey Griffin was definitely, and of course, Caroline Ducharme now is added onto that list as another name. But I think the injury to Aubrey was definitely one of the hardest hitting ones just because of how much impact she had on this team. Not to say, of course, that the other players would have had a huge impact as well this season. But yeah, Aubrey was definitely a tough one, especially because her final year. I'm not sure if she'll be able to come back this year or not. But either way, that was definitely a tough loss because she's done a lot of good things over the years for this team.
It really your eyes are going to pop out of your head when I say this, along with everyone else. The odds are stacked against UConn. I understand that. I really didn't think about it this way, though. Ryan, in sports, we love it, and we all know that you love it. Maybe this would again, the odds are stacked against us. Maybe this was kind of needed for a miracle to happen on Super Bowl Sunday, if you will. I don't know if you know what I mean or not, but so many times we see a team upset and then the next big game that they're favored to lose, it's just like a miracle falling out of the sky.
Yeah, and I think, usually UConn is just favored to win every single game. So it is interesting. I'm sure the past couple of years, of course, UConn, probably the only game they haven't been favored in is when, of course, they do play South Carolina. So maybe it's a little bit of an underdog story a
Yeah.
couple Sundays from now, and hopefully UConn can go in there and get it done. But it's definitely not going to be easy.
Last one. Bond Riley said, I must say I'm disappointed in Nika tonight. She needed to be on the floor and she kept committing unnecessary fouls, reach ins, and bumping. It's not a coincidence that Notre Dame went on their big runs with Nika on the bench with foul problems.
Yeah, I think Nika could have definitely been a huge help guarding Maddie Westbeld. That's who she guarded, I'm pretty sure, when she was able to be in the game. But unfortunately, she wasn't really able to play a whole lot of minutes on Saturday. Hardly, I think she played most of the third quarter. but hardly any of the first half, none, hardly, maybe just a minute of the fourth quarter. So her presence on the floor was definitely felt, I think, on both sides of the ball. And, maybe if she is in the game, maybe it's a completely different story. But definitely, losing Nika to fouls on the bench is definitely something that we can't afford to happen.
Predictions. I think UConn bounces back in a big way, Ryan. I'm taking UConn Wednesday night, 90 to 72. 90 to 72 all over Villanova. Watch out for this UConn team, especially after they come off of a big loss. You talked about it on Fox, national prime time, whatever. Yeah, just watch out. Gino's been around so long, man. I would not want to, credit Villanova. They've had a great season thus far. I would not want to be in Villanova's shoes, Ryan, Wednesday night, especially with what happened Saturday.
No, it's usually not fun for the other opponent when UConn is coming off a loss. But yeah, I want to see a bounce back performance too, and hopefully Nika can stay on the floor this time and help guard Lucy Olsen. So hopefully she can kind of lock her down for most of the game on Wednesday. And also, I hope to see 4 consistent quarters as well. But I'm going to go pretty similar score. I'm going to go UConn 91, Villanova 76.
All right, that'll do it, Ryan, on this Monday night. The last check-in, as we expect UConn to bounce right back, right, Ryan? And this is Lancaster Avenue, East Lancaster Avenue, Villanova, Pennsylvania, the site Wednesday night. Ryan, I will see you post-game right back here on Listen Up.